Carrying your country to the biggest stage in football deserves the recognition of being named the best player in the world. Even if Lionel Messi played in quote-unquote the Farmers League all year, his contribution was 21 goals and 21 assists in winning a league that's one of the most competitive leagues in the world right now. Overshining the greatest talents around him, respecting and admiring his team, a leader for his nation, stepping up as the first penalty kick taker, a phenomenon, a story that we will be talking about for generations to come. On Messi's incredible 2023 season where he won everything there is to win, but he didn't win the Champions League?
It'll be full of sentimental claptrap. Messi won the World Cup, Messi's this, Messi's that, and they'll just hand him another one. And if I was Erling Haaland, I'd never go back to another Ballon d'Or in my life.
This is the story of Messi and the Ballon d'Or. For 15 years, the World Cup was held over Messi's head like a gun. His lack of international success was used time and time again to criticize his GOAT status. Yet now that he's won the World Cup, people are finding new ways to downplay his performances. You know what the World Cup is. It's the biggest prize in football. Every single footballer dreams of lifting that gold trophy for their nation. But because Messi has won it now, his haters are beginning to call it just a 7-game tournament or just a 4-week tournament. The World Cup happens only every 4 years, so at best, you only have 4 or 5 opportunities to compete for it throughout your career. It's not like the Champions League where you can try every single year. Not only did Messi help his team win it, but he did it as the best player in the tournament. He had the second most goals, most assists, most chances created. How many players do you know that are at the top of the list for both goals and assists? Certainly not Haaland. He won the Man of the Match award every single game. It was so common that the picture of him with the Budweiser award looked like it was being copy-pasted. Argentina scored 18 goals in the tournament, with Messi being involved in 10 of them, meaning that 55% of their goals were due to Messi, man. People want to downplay Messi's World Cup campaign to just penalties as a debate for Ballon d'Or against Haaland. First, penalties are the most high-pressure situation possible for any footballer, and Messi was taking them at the World Cup, the biggest stage of them all. The entire world is watching, and the fate of your entire country rests on your shoulders. If you score, you're a hero. You miss, and you're burnt. It is not a responsibility that everyone is up for. But the World Cup was rigged for Argentina to win. How? Every single penalty was the right call. Some of the pens might have seemed soft, and the penalty in the final was a similar story. It was soft, controversial, but by the law, it was a pen. You can't trip people and expect the referee to not call it. The thing is, you can take away all of Messi's penalty goals and he still had an all-time World Cup campaign. His goal against Mexico will go down as one of the most clutch moments in his entire career. Argentina's backs were up against a wall, having lost to Saudi Arabia in their opening match. It meant there was no room for error, and they would have to win both of their remaining games in order to advance. You could feel the pressure on the Argentinian players' shoulders throughout the entire game. A team that was so good in Copa America, so dominant in qualifiers, looked shaky against Mexico. Nobody could predict that day that this will be a photo in the next 30 days. And possibly this in the next year. They were unable to string passes together properly. And for parts of the game, it looked more like a wrestling match than a game of football. Just when it all seemed lost, Messi pulled out a moment of magic. He found a pocket of space, received the ball from Di Maria, and banged in a shot from outside the box. Placed it low on the ground where Ochoa had no chance of saving it. The crowd erupted as that goal took the pressure off the Argentinian team's shoulder. It gave them hope at a time that it looked like they would be exiting the World Cup after only 2 games. Messi kept Argentina's desires alive, and he didn't stop there. Getting to Messi only scored penalties, there was another moment of magic for Messi against Australia in the round of 16, where he scored a beautiful goal that was not a penalty, once again keeping Argentina's hopes alive. Keep in mind as well, Argentina were not favorites going into this tournament. Sure, everyone knew they were a strong team and had a solid qualifying run, but remember, most sources had Brazil or France winning the whole thing. The game against the Netherlands was probably the most heated game at the entire World Cup. And it's going to be one of the reasons why I feel Messi deserves the Ballon d'Or. Because imagine being so good that the coach of the other team thinks the game was scripted. Let me tell you what happened. The match that made Messi win the Ballon d'Or. So much history between the two nations, with Argentina having eliminated Louis van Gaal's Netherlands in the 2014 World Cup. This is probably why Louis van Gaal called the World Cup scripted, because even he couldn't believe what Messi was doing to his team. Argentina took the lead from a Molina goal. A goal that was only made possible from an alien-like assist from Messi. Haaland can't make that pass, by the way, not in a million years. A goal and an assist from Messi against the Netherlands, the best player in the world. Messi's assist against Croatia was already phenomenal just by watching, but becomes that much more impressive with context. The defender on Messi through that whole sequence is Josko Guardiola. Remember these videos? He signed for Manchester City for a record fee after this tournament, as even Pep Guardiola knows just how good he is. Guardiola was the best defender in the entire tournament, but a 35-year-old Messi turned him inside out at the semi-finals of a World Cup. Even he became a fan of Messi after the game. Before this moment, Guardiola had not put a foot wrong. But similar to Boateng in 2015 and Ramos throughout his entire career, Messi can make even the best defenders look silly. Combine that beautiful assist with Messi's pen to open up the scoring, and you get another masterclass from Messi at a time when his team needed him the most. Unlike certain players that have had 0 goals and 0 assists in the semifinals of their games, but we'll get to that later. Final of the World Cup. The entire world watching. And Messi scored a brace. The man had come up with 2 goals for his country in the biggest game in football history. Yet I have to hear people say he isn't the best, or that it was all rigged for him? As if France didn't also receive 2 penalties? I have to use goals and assists to statistically show people Messi's impact, because I am sure the majority of people who downplay Messi's performances either didn't watch or just want to hate. Some players are good statistically, like Ronaldo and Haaland. Others you have to watch play live, like Modric, Zidane, and Xavi. Messi is both. He is magic. He is statistically the most dominant, and off the eye test, nobody can recreate what he does. How many people can be in the conversation for both top scorer and top assister? For the people that want to downplay the role of the World Cup when it comes to the Ballon d'Or, let me take you guys back to 2018. Messi won the European Golden Shoe, the award given for the player with the most goals in Europe. Had 77 goals and assists in 54 games, helped Barcelona win La Liga with only 1 loss, and won Copa del Rey, yet he finished 5th in the Ballon d'Or ranking. All the people above him were deemed to have had a better World Cup campaign, so Messi's incredible club achievements were just ignored. Modric was given the award that year, and his World Cup campaign was nowhere near as impressive as Messi's. Modric did win the Champions League that year, but Ronaldo was far better for Real Madrid, so why did he not receive the Ballon d'Or? Simple, because the World Cup plays a much larger role in determining the winner. In 2006, Cannavaro's Juventus was relegated to the Serie B, but he still received the Ballon d'Or because of his impressive performances at center back for Italy, helping them win the World Cup. Everyone knows how important the World Cup is, and when you are the best player in the most prestigious tournament, it plays a massive role in making your case for the Ballon d'Or. Having said that, it should not be the sole factor. I agree to that. Many people bring up Schneider not winning the Ballon d'Or in 2010. However, the argument for him is weak. Yes, he was important to the Netherlands reaching the final. And yes, he played a crucial role in helping Inter win the treble. But at no point was Schneider the main leader of his team. Schneider had a very good World Cup campaign, but not the Messi Maradona-esque performances. What makes Messi's case so strong this year is he was the best player on both his country and club. Messi won't be winning the Ballon d'Or just because of the World Cup. PSG had a good season and Messi was a leader there as well. You can always tell who actually watched PSG based on how they felt about the team. Those who had the luxury of not watching Ligue 1 games always call PSG a star-studded team that should have won every single trophy. The reality is that real football isn't like FIFA, where you can just add a bunch of players that look good on paper and then expect them to win the Champions League. Didn't work for many other teams, and the same thing happened to PSG. They were looking good for a period of time before Neymar's injury. However, the team was just not set up tactically to succeed. Yet within this mess, Lionel Messi had 21 goals and 21 assists for the Parisians, helping them win the league title and the French Super Cup. You might be saying to yourself, well, Ligue 1 is a farmers league. It's not that hard to win. The season before Messi arrived, PSG actually lost the league to Monaco, so it's not always a guarantee. Had it not been for Messi and Mbappe carrying this PSG as a dynamic duo, they might have lost this one as well, considering they only won the league by 1 point. Messi put up these stats essentially playing as a midfielder. PSG relied heavily on Messi to come deep, collect the ball, and playmate. Messi through ball to Mbappe became one of the few ways that PSG was actually able to create chances. Did Messi score as much as Haaland this season? No, obviously not. But Messi didn't have the luxury on playing on a team that had such a strong system, you know? Manchester City had won 5 out of the last 6 Premier League titles, coached by the greatest manager of all time, surrounded by the best midfielders in the world, who were able to create chances for Haaland, whose only responsibility was just to score. But Haaland broke the Premier League goal scoring record, had 60 plus goals and won the treble. How could you possibly say he doesn't deserve the Ballon d'Or? I am in no way saying he doesn't deserve it. In fact, both players are worthy candidates for the award. If Haaland wins, nobody should be upset, because his job is to score goals and he did it better than anybody else in the world. But he was also rewarded for that with the European Golden Boot. That award recognized Haaland as the best goal scorer in the world. But when you're going up against Lionel Messi, you must realize it's not just about goals. Goals are not the only metric to judge a player, as seen in the past as well. If goals are everything you bring to the table, you can't be the best. There were multiple games this season where Haaland had 0 goals and 0 assists for Manchester City. He was just doing cardio, bro. Now that isn't the main issue. His presence alone creates space for the other players on the team. And I even said earlier in the video, it's not just all about goals and assists. But it's not just that he had no statistical impact. He barely touched the ball. In some of these games, Haaland had single-digit touches on the ball. He completed only 3 passes in a Champions League final. How can you possibly be labeled the best player in the world when you barely touch the ball in critical games for your team? Unlike Messi, Haaland has to rely on others to create for him. That's just part of the profile for the natural striker. You have to have others around you to create so that you can convert those chances into goals. Haaland is incredible at that, the best in the world. But the guy he's competing against can score and create for others. This is also the reason why, at times, Haaland wasn't even the best player at Manchester City. Haaland had a solid Champions League campaign, scoring 12 goals. But guess who won Champions League Player of the Year? Rodri. Rodri was far more consistent, showed up in the biggest moments for Manchester City, scoring against Bayern in the quarterfinals, and a banger against Inter Milan in the final. There were numerous moments in the season where it appeared that Kevin De Bruyne was the heart and soul of this team. The person that made them click. The one responsible for scoring and creating for Haaland. When there's a debate on whether you're even the best player at your own club, then I can question whether you're the best player in the world as well. Personally, if I had to choose between a striker that scored a ton of club goals because he had the best club delivering him passes in the box versus a playmaker with a ton of assists that also scored a ridiculous amount and carried his country to the World Cup but didn't shine in the Champions League, I take the World Cup every time. Every single time. Haaland will still have plenty of opportunities to win the award. He is only 22 years old and just beginning to adjust to Pep Guardiola and Manchester City's system. 60 plus goals in a treble-winning season is an incredible achievement. But to me, Haaland is just a specialist in his role. He is the best striker on the planet, but not the best player. If you put Messi on that Manchester City team, they could still win the treble. But if you put Haaland on that Argentina national team, there's not a chance in the world they win the World Cup. Messi's leadership, playmaking, and goal-scoring ability all together form a player that impacts the game at every level. A GOAT amongst men. Which begs the question, with an 8th Ballon d'Or and the World Cup trophy, is Messi unanimously the GOAT? To find out more, watch this video on how Messi silenced all of his critics.